Could somebody please confirm that you can hear me? You need to turn on your
Can
microphone.
hear you.
Thank you.
Hello, yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. All right, I should warn you, I've got a bit of a cold, so my voice is going to be a bit off. You should be seeing my screen now.
Yeah, we can.
All right. So this is microbiology, and obviously you're here, so you got my email. Let's close that down. Close that down. Let me introduce the course. If you take a look at our course, generally you'll follow this from going top down. The beginning stuff is general course information. I've got something for you to read here. There is the syllabus. This is the new way that Clark College names a syllabus. So that's the name of our class. That's specifically our class number, our CRN number. There's our class. This is me, and this is spring 2025 term. There's some information for students getting technical help. Actually, let's go ahead and click into that. If you're having trouble with the website, you're having trouble with your computer, you're having trouble with anything technical, you should take a look at this and go to the clark.edu ITS website and put in an IT ticket if you request something to be done, or go to their website and get some help from them. There's a bunch of other student help here, such as e-learning support and the tutoring services. We have two tutoring services, a walk-in tutoring clinic, which is at Clark, and there is a tutor for microbiology this term. And then there's an online tutor as well, which you can see the Clark tutor online if you wish, but you can also walk into the room and meet them face to face. There's an online tutor as well. I don't remember who Clark gets that from. Accessibility statements and privacy issues, student services, student tutoring, language and writing center, financial aid, career services, Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Penguin Pantry, Veterans Resource Center, the Counseling and Health Center. So I have a whole bunch of links here for student help and services. You should modify your Canvas site. This will tell you how to do that so that when I make an announcement, you'll get notified immediately of that. Generally, I don't make many announcements. I don't usually make many changes to the class, but occasionally I do. If you are unable to view the class, or for some reason you don't want to view it when the Zoom session is working, and let me ask for your support and help here, and that is right here, it's showing me that I'm actually recording this. If I'm not ever recording this, I don't know how it displays with you guys, but if I'm not recording this, let me know, and then I'll start recording it. And I try to record the class so that I have a recording that I can then put up on my YouTube website. And right there is a link to my YouTube website. I'll go there just to show you the you need to double click this because it's outside of Canvas, and so Firefox can't open it. But you double click it there, it'll take you outside of Canvas. And there's my YouTube website having some classes from earlier terms. This is from last term, so that'd probably be our last lecture. Anyways, if you can't, ah, if you can't attend the website, you should, I mean, the Zoom session, you should follow my course um, online. Hopefully, everything will be there as long as there's not a mistake. Like I said, if ever you see I'm not recording it, let me know and I'll start recording it. Um, oh, and that goes for the lab session as well. Every term, I've had some students who, just for whatever reason, do not attend the Zoom lab session and do not view the lab recordings on my YouTube websites. I know who you are, and I'm informed of who's attending my class and who's attending the YouTube website. So I know who you are. I'm not going to penalize you, but I'm going to warn you that you're missing information and you also will be confused on two of the major assignments, which I explain in the lab. So you really should attend the lab sessions. This is a link about Zoom. You should take a look at that. These are the Zoom meeting invites that I emailed you. Hopefully that's the corrected one that I emailed the second time. I haven't checked that. I'll make a note to check Zoom meet invite. Make sure I sent you the second one. Posted the second one. I know I sent you the second one, but sorry about the first time. What happened was Zoom changed their settings. They updated it, and for some reason the default changed. And when I selected that the meeting will be weekly, the default was every other week rather than every week, which it had always been in the past. So now there's one more thing I have to, I don't know, change or correct in the Zoom meetings. And there's a whole bunch of steps I have to do. So there's one more that I've got to do now. There's some information for biosafety information for students and physicians. This is more for students who actually come into a real microbiology lab because you are exposed to microorganisms and you could potentially pick up the microorganism, take it home with you, and then get sick from it. We have had one student in the past, a long time ago, who that did that. And this is some biosafety information. Like I said, you're going to be taking the lab online, so there's no way for you to pick up a microorganism, at least from this class, and get sick from it. But there's the information there. And then the lockdown browser requirements, and it doesn't state it, but it's also the Respondus monitor requirements. You should read this information. Okay. You need to download lockdown browser and a Respondus lockdown browser and Respondus monitor to take the quizzes in this class. And then if you don't have the textbook, I have the copies of the first three chapters of the textbook on this link here, and then the chapter summaries for all the other chapters. It doesn't have the complete chapters, but it has the, I don't know, the last 2 pages of the chapters. And that was mainly for students who, when the bookstore doesn't have, runs out of the textbook and they don't have the textbook, and then they can use this until the bookstore gets the textbook. All right, you need to take the plagiarism tutorial in this class. It needs to be completed by April 19th. This is a link to the plagiarism tutorial. It's a really good tutorial that the Clark College Library made. And you need to know about plagiarism, especially if you've never had that. And then you need to take the plagiarism quiz. You can take this quiz for 7 attempts. You must gain 100% on the plagiarism quiz, other than question 0. You can actually miss question 0, but all the other questions you have to pass. If you fail to do that, then besides not getting the 19 points out of the plagiarism quiz, you will get 0 points out of the 100-point infectious disease project, meaning you have to get 100% minus question 0 on the plagiary quiz to earn points in the infectious disease point. So you have to get 100% minus question 0 in order to get the 100 points for the infectious disease project. And that's something we set up to make sure you get 100% on the plagiarism quiz. To take this quiz, you must have a lockdown browser and webcam monitor, meaning Respondus monitor. And then there's a little guide about APA and citation style, which you'll learn citation styles when you take the plagiarism tutorial. Any question about any of that? I initially had this due in week 1, but I've changed it because I've added a very new quiz, and it's the environmental quiz, which is now due by Saturday. Let's go into week 1 lecture. There it is. The environmental quiz is due this week. It's just one question showing me your environment around your computer. Let me get a monitor here. I can get this over here. This one's plugged in. I'll have to show you some other time. I got to unplug that. Uh, you need to show me the region where your computer is sitting. And if you have a laptop, all you have to do is bend it down like this. And I'm not sure if I'm showing that. So let me stop sharing and then I'll see. I've got the background down, so it's kind of hard to see. Well, I saw my hands for just a second there. Anyways, that's the desk that's on. And you need to then rotate it to the right. I don't know if you can see that because my background's so good. And then rotate it to the left to show me your entire environment. Any questions about any of that? That's a new quiz. It is due this Saturday. And because of that, I postponed the plagiarism quiz until the end of week 2. Let me start sharing my screen. Go. And then as you scroll down, there will be week 1 lecture, followed by a section week 1 lab. And generally you work on these things from top to bottom. Like there's an overview of the chapter and the objectives. And on some of these, I've got that together with the study guide, in which case I just call it the Chapter 2, I've got it broken down too. In which case, I just call it the study guide. This lists the objectives of chapter 1, an overview of the chapter as well. And all of your quiz questions will come from one of the objectives. So you should take a look at this. Chapter 1 study guide is the same thing as the slide presentation. However, instead of showing it in a PowerPoint, I'm giving you the information in a text sentences. Any question about any of that? And then there's the worksheet for the lecture for chapter 1, the extra credit study sheet, which is an extra credit project, and then the extra credit picture. So you can send me a picture of your face. No one will ever see it. And it is something I'll put into the grade book. And it's just something I found that helps me learn your names. I want to learn your names. And if I get your picture, it'll help me learn your names because I'll see it, your picture with smiling face, whenever I'm posting the grades. And that helps me learn your names. The extra credit study sheet, you need to click on that link. And then
Hello.
that link, what's the matter?
Oh, sorry. I just figured out how to unmute my Zoom. But I actually had a question about the Respondus quiz because I saw that you said that you access the browser and then you go to the quiz after you unlock the browser, but it won't let me do that.
Let me check the due dates of the quiz.
And,
You might not be able to access it yet.
and I also had questions on
Just 1
the
minute, just 1 minute. All right, you can't access this quiz until uh, actually you're supposed to be able to access it August 8th at 12 a.m. So when did you try?
I've been trying today and it just it'll like open the browser for Respondus and then it will just like not have any option to show my screen. So I emailed you about it, but I don't understand how else I was supposed to do it because it won't let me access any quiz.
All right. Every term, every other term, as a student has trouble with Respondus, Lockdown Browser. I don't know about the monitor, but uh, and what happens is you need to change a setting on your computer. I've got a link, which I've already discussed. Technical help.
No, it's
Go
like
to
I
your
don't know how to
technical help, okay? Because I can't help you. Go to your technical help and get help from the Clark ITS page. Okay?
I
Because I
have
can't change the settings. And I
yeah,
don't know how to tell you to change the settings either. All
yeah.
right? Like I said, every other term, there's a student has trouble, and all they need to do usually is change one setting on their computer, and then the lockdown browser will work. All right. Um, let's see where I was discussing the credit study sheet. It'll be a worksheet with several tabs. You need to fill in two tabs. The first tab will be your daily schedule. Your second tab will be your study schedule for microbiology. And if you have the same study schedule for microbiology every week, you only need 2 tabs. But if you have a different schedule for every week, just add tabs. There's 3 or 4 tabs on the worksheet. I think I've got that there already on my computer. I'm not finding it, so yeah, I'm not finding it. So anyways, if you have a different schedule for every week, just add another tab and then say which week it is that you're studying. Generally, people don't need more than 2 or 3 tabs, and those are provided in the worksheet already. All right, where were we? I don't want that. Ah. All right, any questions about the Canvas web page?
Yeah, I just have a quick question, and it's just like to clarify. So for the schedule, I know you want us to like put everything there so we have like an idea for study time and everything. Did you want us to put like our job as well, like if we're working, or just like our Clark College schedule?
No, you should have your complete daily schedule. You can be
Okay, that's what I
generalized.
thought.
You can generalize, like just say work. You can tell me
Okay.
exactly where you work. I don't care. And then you can put in times like family time, meaning can
Yeah.
generalize.
I saw your comment thingy you put on there about that. I just wanted to make sure because for mine, I don't really get my work schedule, but it's just like if like 5 hours maybe. I work at Dutch Bros, so it's like pretty simple. It's just I don't really know till later, so I could put like an idea of normally the time if that works. So yeah.
Yeah, just put in your idea of what you
Okay.
think it'll be.
Thank you.
I also have a question, and I guess this might be for an IT issue, but I was trying for a good amount of time, but I wasn't able to download it and submit it, and I was asking other students in the class because it only
Download
really
what?
takes
I didn't follow.
what?
You're trying to download what?
Um, the the study the study schedule as a to turn it in. I was trying to turn it in, and since you're not allowing PDFs, I'm guessing that's an IT issue that
Oh,
you're
yeah, I'm not allowing a PDF, so you gotta submit it as a worksheet or a Word file or something like that.
okay.
That's not a that's not a problem. It's just I'm not allowing a download because a PDF file cannot be checked for plagiarism, so I'm not allowing them. All right. Um, let's go to the syllabus, quickly go through it. So on the syllabus, we have our schedule. The lecture will be from 5 to 6:20. On Tuesday and Thursday, we'll always meet at Zoom. There's some information about the textbook materials and other resources. If you have questions about the textbook, ask. I'll let you read about the course description, the student outcomes, course policies, and suggestions. If you're sick, contact me before the assignment is due, and I'll help you try and keep track with the remote online class. You need to contact me prior to the due dates in order to make arrangements for late work. If you contact me after the due date, you may get the late penalty applied. Preparation for class. This class will be very busy, so it's best to pre-read the course material, bring the lab modules to every lab, and be ready for the class when we take off. Also, you need to review the material before the exams. Attendance and participation. Attendance will mainly be taken in the lab, where for the first two labs, if you do not turn in the assignments by the due date, and that due date will be this Friday, I think at 8 a.m., then you will be dropped from the class. So make sure you turn in the first two lab assignments by the due date, or you'll be dropped from the class. The reason is that we need to find out who is attending the classes and who is not. And I'm only really taking attendance and participation from the turning in of the first two lab assignments. The quizzes will be online. You only have 24 hours to take the quiz, and if they missed, they may not be made up. That's not entirely true. If you let me know within 24 hours, I can open it up for you for 24 hours. But after 48 hours after the quiz due date, the answers will show, in which case you cannot take the quiz. So once the answers show, no one ever is allowed to take the quiz late. Any questions about that? The policy of quizzes for 24 hours is something that microbiology classes at Clark have decided to reduce cheating. Let me say somebody was asking a question.
Yeah, so how long are these quizzes relatively?
It'll depend. Some of them are really short. There's only about 10 questions. Others have maybe 21, 22 questions. So you should be able to finish them in about half an hour or less. All right. Obviously, the final is longer. I think the final has about 50 questions, and that one will take you over an hour, or at least most students over an hour to finish. All right, artificial intelligence or AI is allowed in this class. However, if you're using AI, you must state it, put it in quotes, and state where you got it from. In a sense, you are quoting from someone, AI, and so you should be putting in quotes. And I can put your assignments through an AI checker to look for AI generated answers. So please state it, because if you don't, you'll get a penalty. All right? Any questions about that? Another reason is I kind of want to know how many students are using AI in the class. I'm expecting over time that more and more students will use AI. And so I'm just wanting to, I don't know, document that. Like I said, you can use AI for your answer, but always put it in quotes and state where you got it. And I think in the plagiarism information, I have a note, maybe it's in the study guide, someplace in there. I've got how you put uh, quoting from AI. And the reason is the plagiarism tutorial was made by the library several years ago, and it was before AI was really around. And so they don't talk AI, but I do. You can read about wearing masks, student responsibilities. You are expected to either attend the Zoom sessions or view them later on YouTube. If you are expected to do all the assigned readings, to do the assignments and the quizzes, turn them in by the due date. If you do not meet these expectations, I will be notified of all the above, except for the readings you're doing. And then you may get confused in the class if you do not follow these expectations. Please pre-read the lab modules and then the assignments, bring them to class on the appropriate dates. Know the dates of the assignments. They're in the syllabus and they're in the Canvas calendar as well. They're in the Canvas as well. Obtain all materials you miss in class. It's your responsibility to find out what you have missed. Keep all papers and final grades until the final grade is given. That way, if you want to dispute something, you've got evidence. You must abide by the student code of conduct, especially as it applies to academic honesty issues. Cheating and plagiarism are not allowed in college. Failure to do this, you will get penalized. For example, if you plagiarize an assignment and I detect it, you may get a 0 on that assignment. Laboratory safety rules must be followed. Obviously, this is not applicable to an online class, but you must know the lab safety rules. You will be quizzed on them. All interactions, including student to student, student to instructor, and instructor to student, should be professional, cordial, businesslike. This includes all communications, emails, everything should be phrased in a positive, non-confrontational, and non-offensive language. We all must be respectful, even if we strongly disagree with each other. My responsibilities. I will try to respond to all Canvas emails within 48 hours. And I forgot to mention when I showed you the syllabus that I prefer getting Canvas emails as opposed to clark.edu emails. I get a lot of junk emails in the clark.edu emails, so I'm only going to check that email about twice a week. So if you send me a question on jvolpe@clark.edu, you may have to wait half a week before I will read your email. I'll try to have all assignments graded within a week of the due date. Now note there are 2 big lab assignments in this class that take me days to grade. So those may take me longer than a week to get them graded. And I usually do not finish these 2 big assignments until close to finals week or during finals week. Some of our labs may be graded 2 times, and this grading applies only to the first grading of the lab. The second grading of the lab, if it happens, I will do the second grading whenever I have time, and that usually will be fairly late and will be close to the end of the term. Any question about any of that? All right, you can read about course withdrawal. Late assignments, oh, let me say, if you do wish to withdraw from the course, you should do so within the first week. I don't remember if it's Friday or Saturday, but if you withdraw within the first week, you'll get 100% refund for the class. If you withdraw within a certain date, you'll get, I think it's 90% of the class, or maybe 50% of the money you paid for the class. And then after that, you withdraw, you have to pay for the entire class. So try and withdraw within the first week. Late assignments, all work is due on the due date. And if you cannot submit it, that means to Canvas that Canvas is closed because it's past the due date. You must send me all late work through email. And late work will get a 25% penalty for the first day it's late, and then a 50% penalty for all other days it's late. I do not accept late assignments during finals week, but you can turn it in right before finals week. Any question about any of that? All right, for student conduct, your rights and accessible and unacceptable behaviors are outlined in the Clark Student Code of Conduct at this link here. And I guess it continues there. Generally, plagiarism and cheating are the only problems I ever run into. And I've already mentioned, if you plagiarize, what you need to do, not is put it in quotes and say where you got it from. And then you're no longer plagiarizing. Plagiarism is important. It actually is important in the world as well as in college. It's just that students tend to plagiarize and don't think it's important. But if you don't know, President Biden actually plagiarized a speech the first time he was running for the presidency, and he had to drop out of the race. I don't remember when that was, but it was the first time he was running for the presidency. There was also a sitting U.S. senator, I think it was the senator from Nebraska, and he plagiarized when he was writing his thesis or dissertation in graduate school. And somebody found it and published it, and the sitting senator had to resign his Senate seat. So plagiarism is important. Any questions about that? Cheating, collaboration between students, getting help from others is not allowed. Okay? All quizzes and exams are monitored by Respondus Monitor, and so I will be likely able to find any cheating. So don't cheat when you're taking the exams. All exams are administered closed books, closed notes, and closed AI. Tests are online, and any behavior are determined to be cheating, such as using your phone, using AI, using another computer, leaving the area of your webcam, or not showing me your environment, and then taking your eyes off the computer screen will result in a score of 0 for that quiz or exam. Any questions about any of that? If you don't know, Respondus Monitor monitors your, I don't know, behaviors of whatever when you're taking the quiz. And so I will note when your eyes are off the computer screen by watching the Respondus Monitor. All right, somebody had a question. What's your question?
Yeah, this is my first time using the Respondus monitor, and I was just kind of looking into it with the um, eye contact. Like, what do you mean? Like, we have to just keep our eyes on the screen, or is there an area where we can look? Because I'm kind of confused.
You should keep your eyes on the screen. Okay.
Okay.
If you ever wanted to take your eyes off the screen, like rest your eyes or something, you should
Yeah.
probably shut your eyes and then look someplace else.
Okay, but what about there are those of us who have to look at how we're typing?
You should, oh, you mean when you're typing your answer?
Yes, I have to look at the keys sometimes.
As long as you show me your computer environment before you take the quiz, I will let you look at the keys while you're typing your answer.
Thank you.
All right.
Are we able to explain, like, if we accidentally turn our head, like if my kid walks up or something, explain right away, like, oh, that's my kid, or if they walk into the screen? Obviously, I'll try not
Obviously,
to,
I
but
will
like,
see your child walking into the screen. You should actually try and um, take the quiz someplace or the final someplace where you're isolated. But if that happens, I will see the child walk into the screen and realize
okay,
there's a problem going on. And then I can follow your conversation as well
mhm,
as take a look at where you're looking. Obviously, if you're looking at a book or something like that, I will know you're cheating. But if you're just looking at your child, I will see that. And so, like I said, I can usually determine that.
okay.
Okay. But yeah, what you should do when you're taking the exam is you should be isolated.
Oh, I had another question. It says it will flag you. Will that do it automatically, or will it do it at the end
The session will be flagged. I think you're notified of it, and then I'm notified that the student was flagged.
immediately, or like at the end?
Well, I won't check until after you've taken the exam. I think it'll
Okay.
notify you immediately that it flagged you for some reason, and it'll usually tell you
Oh,
why. And
okay. That's like nerve-wracking.
Yeah, like if you're talking, it'll flag you. If your
That's another thing. If
eyes
we
are off
read,
the computer, it'll flag you.
okay. Wow.
Is there a way that, like, if we do get flagged for some reason, is there a way that we could like somehow like repel it, like prove that we didn't cheat and it was just like by accident? Or is there no way for us to come back from that?
You can tell me as soon as you discover that you have a flag message.
All
Meaning you
right.
can literally talk in the exam. That'll put another flag, but that's okay. Um, but yeah, you can tell me as soon as you get a flag if you're notified, or if you find out you had a flag after the exam. Let me see, how can you do that then? There, you'd probably have to email it to me. During the exam, you can always tell me. Um, I think if you determine you have a flag and you didn't notice until the end of your exam, before you submit the exam, you can still talk. Once you submit the exam, it'll shut it down. But um, so after you've submitted the exam, you can always email me.
I have a question. It's not necessarily about, it just made me think of it, but I was wondering if I could share my screen so you can see what it looks like when I try to do the Respondus quiz. Because
Let's do that after the lab. Okay.
okay.
All right, I got something about cheating. You can read about that. Etiquette for Zoom, you can read about that. Translational services, let's talk a little bit about the study, suggested study methods. Like most science classes, microbiology is challenging because it introduces a lot of new vocabulary, many new concepts. You'll have several assignments due at the same time. You may feel stressed, especially in the middle of the term. This is normal, but students say that this was one of their most enjoyable classes. To alleviate some of this stress, please understand the commitment you are about to undertake. To be successful, you must set aside sufficient study time. Although sufficient study time is an individual matter, most students will need to study an average of 2 hours for every hour of time they spend in class. Our class will normally be about 3 hours for lecture and 4 hours for lab. So that's 7 hours per week. And that means you must have 14 hours of study time outside of class, plus the 7 hours of time spent in class. If external responsibilities prevent you from spending sufficient study time in the class, it may be wise to take this class during another quarter. You also must understand and comprehend fundamental principles. Comprehension involves the ability to understand information, translate it into new concepts, interpret facts, predict consequences. To get a passing grade in Biology 260 implies you have comprehended, not just memorized, fundamental microbiology principles. And some exam questions do require comprehension. Each student learns differently. Use whatever works for you. One way to improve your study methods may to determine what kind of learner you are. Are you a visual learner, an auditory learner, a reading writing learner, a kinesthetic learner, or a multimodality learner? To find out, you can go to www.varklearn.com English, whatever that link is, and take this questionnaire. Here is a list of suggestions to help you study effectively. Take on manageable chunks of material. Let me blow this up a little further. When you're studying, unless you're brilliant, trying to learn too much at once can be counterproductive. Use concept mapping when you're studying. There's a link there to brainstorming and concept mapping. Be organized. You'll have several concurrent assignments. You may feel lost without proper organization. Use 10 to 15 minutes before class to scan both the previous class's notes and those for the upcoming class. This will help you remember where we left off and will get you into the proper mindset for the class. Come to class, including during the lab. Sounds simple, but many instructors, including yours, have noticed a strong correlation between attendance and grades. Obviously, quizzes will be material covered in both the lecture and the lab. And I will go over the material that I think is most important. And obviously, I'll have quiz questions on the material that I think is most important. So come to class. Listen in class. Sounds stupid, but many of us are either tune out during the lectures or so busy writing notes we don't actually listen to what is being discussed. The work you do during the course will largely determine your success on the quiz and finals. Take sketchy notes in class at first, then go over and fill them in. Fill in the detail as soon as possible after the class and within a day. This will allow you to listen and think instead of writing during class, and then force you to actively think, and then add to your notes when you recopy your notes. The study method may even cut down on your study time. Filling in the details after a day won't work, as you will lose your short-term memory. So you must go over your notes before one day. Try active strategies for learning, such as forming a study group online, quizzing your study partners, writing mock questions, exam questions. One of the best ways to learn is to teach. If you do form a study group, I will also give you extra credit for that. Use visual studying techniques called concept mapping. All right, any questions about any of that? Let's talk about your grading. There's the environment quiz, which will be 1 point. There's the plagiarism quiz, which will be 19 points. There are 5 quizzes in the term at 75 points, but you get to throw out your lowest quiz. So the total points will only be 300 points, which is 4 times 75. You must show me the complete area environment around your computer before taking a quiz online as listed in the tentative course schedule. If you miss a quiz for an excused absence, you may make it up if you contact the instructor within 24 hours. But understand, no quizzes may be taken 48 hours after the due date because the answers will show. Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor must be used on all online quizzes. There will be a worksheet in the lab, about 1 per lab for a total of 50 points, so about 5 points each. There will be a worksheet in each lecture. Actually, one of the lectures has 2, but that'll be worth 25 points. And I think these are worth 2.5 points each. Identification of the unknown bacteria project, meaning your unknown project, 75-point lab project, the infectious disease lab project, 100-point lab project, the cumulative final worth 150 points. We'll talk more about the cumulative final when the date approaches. Participation is important, though not required. So here's a breakdown of the points. The environmental quiz, 1 point. Plagiarism quiz, 19 points. 5 quizzes, dropping their lowest, 300 points. Lab assignments, close to 10. 5 points each, 50 points. Identification of the unknown project, 75 points. Infectious disease project, 100 points. Lecture worksheets, about 10, 25 points. The final, 150 points for a total of 720 points in this class. That's not counting any extra credit which will be worth about 20 points. I've already discussed 2 of the projects. The picture you can send me of your face, and then the daily schedule and your study schedule. Actually, I discussed the third one. We'll discuss that one later. All right, the grading scale, 92% or greater is an A, 90% or greater is an A minus, B plus is 88% or greater, B 82% or greater, a B minus 80% or greater, a C plus 78% greater, a C is 70% greater. Note there's no C minus. A D is 60% or greater. An F is less than 60%. Any question about the grading? You should note the Canvas gives you a letter grade. It is using a slightly different scale than we use in microbiology, so the Canvas grade may be slightly off, the letter grade. I'll let you read about question review and written corrections. I'll let you read about microscope use in the lab and virtual labs, support services for students. I'll let you read about that. Other services for students, I'll let you read about that. I read about non-discrimination policy, school emergency procedures, safety information for students and physicians. I'll talk about that in the lab. And then we have, words of advice and comfort. Let me briefly talk about that. Sometimes it seems like your instructors are your enemies. It is true that we must maintain standards so that we cannot always accommodate you. However, you should know that we all want you to succeed. Being a teacher, one of the greatest joys is interacting with you, our student, getting to know you and helping you achieve your academic goals. So if you have any problems, complaints, or concerns, please come and discuss them with us. The earlier, the better. Don't let them fester. It only makes things worse. And I will try my best to help you. That doesn't mean that I will be able to help you, but I will try. And then hopefully you'll even get some fun out of this class. I'll read about the lab safety rules in the lab. And then we have our schedule of classes. On the left side, we have the lecture. The very most last, we've got the week 1, April 8th to the 12th, Tuesday to Saturday. And then the topics we're supposed to be covering. And then on the right side, we have the laboratory. I'll talk about this in the lab. You should note I've got important things highlighted in yellow. The environmental quiz is due this Saturday, 4/12. We have 2 lab assignments, which are due 8 a.m. Friday, Lab 00 and Lab 01. You must turn them in or you will be dropped from the class. On week 1, note you got your first practice quiz due on Wednesday, I think 11:59 p.m. Wednesday. Yeah, right there. And then the plagiarism quiz, which would be due 11:59 p.m. on Saturday. Note that generally each lesson, like chapter 13, will have a worksheet, which is due in this work on Saturday, and each lab will have a worksheet, which is also due, like week 9 lab. It'll be due the Saturday of that week. These assignments are not in the schedule of classes because they happen every Saturday. But anything that is not, like week 7, chapter 7 worksheet is due Thursday, 6/12. It'll be listed in the schedule. Any questions about the schedule of classes? If not, let's go on to chapter 1. Chapter 1, the microbial world in you, also has a little bit of chapter 10. We're going to cover page 272 to 281 of the current version of the textbook, which you can get in the bookstore. If you have an older edition of the textbook, it'll be page 264 to 272. You can always find it under classification of microorganisms. That's the only part of chapter 10 we're going to look at. And you have to know chapter 10 with chapter 1. Any questions about any of that? All right. So normally in the PowerPoints, I'll have the first slide discussing the chapter 1, the microbial world in you, and list the major goals and a rough outline. So know the terms: microorganism, germ, pathogenic organism, a parasitic organism, microbiota, infectious disease, emerging infectious disease, pasteurization, Koch's postulates. These are not the only terms, just the major terms you must know in the chapter. Remember, to get all of the terms, what you should do is come and take a look at the objectives. Okay? Any question about any of that?
Will we have access to that PowerPoint?
You'll have access to the PowerPoint after I'm done with the lesson. You do not have access to it beforehand because I'm making more work for myself to make sure that you guys take your own notes. The reason being is students learn best from their own notes. If you were just to use my notes, you will not learn as well. Then we will go into a brief history of microbiology, and throughout this chapter, we'll talk about the importance of microbes. Let me blow this up. The importance of microbes. Here we're looking at the nitrogen cycle, where we can say nitrogen starts in the atmosphere as nitrogen gas. Nitrogen gas can be fixed by bacteria and archaea into an organic compound like, I don't know, an amino acid. When that organic compound, the bacteria and the archaea, decompose, they will be decomposed by bacteria, archaea, and fungi, and the organic compound will be broken down into ammonia. Ammonia can be used by plants as either ammonia or by water. Ammonia can change into ammonium. Plants and algae can use ammonia and ammonium ions, but they don't like it. They get too much of it, it'll actually kill them. Ammonia can be changed by bacteria and archaea into nitrite. Nitrite can be changed into nitrate by bacteria. Nitrate is the form of nitrogen that green plants and algae love. You look at any plant fertilizer, one of the main components will be nitrate. And then green plants, when they take the nitrate, they'll make it an organic compound like amino acid. And then when they can decompose, it'll start the cycle this way again, making ammonia. And then this way. And then nitrate can also be converted into nitrogen gas in the atmosphere by bacteria and archaea. And then we've finished the cycle, or we can restart the cycle, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, that's the way nitrogen moves around in the Earth's ecosystem. Any question about any of that? Wherever we have a red arrow, this step in the nitrogen cycle is occurring because of a microbe changing the nitrogen in this form to this form. We're changing it in this form to this form. So microbes, as you can see, are responsible for most of the steps in the nitrogen cycle. There's only a few steps like this to that, and that to that, and that to that, which are not using microbes in the nitrogen cycle. Any question about any of that? So this is showing you how important microbes are into the running of the nitrogen cycle, which is important for the recycling of nitrogen on the planet Earth. So it's important for the entire Earth, because if you didn't have the nitrogen cycle, whenever something would die, the nitrogen would just sit on the forest floor locked up. And then eventually in the forest, it will be short on nitrogen because all the forest floor will have this dead stuff on the forest floor with all the nitrogen locked up. Any questions about any of that? Showing you the importance of microbes in the Earth ecosystem. Let's talk a little bit about biogeochemistry. There are rock-eating microbes which can actually obtain their nutrients from rocks. When these microbes eat the rocks, they actually break down the rocks, leading to the formation of soils. They are not the main way soil is made. The main way soil is made is by erosion, by wind and water, breaking down the rocks and making soil. But microbes can and significantly break down the rocks to make soil. They make about 20% of the soil on the planet Earth. Showing you microbes making soil. Once again, showing you the importance of microbes in the Earth's ecosystem. Excuse me here. If we look at the atmospheric oxygen levels on the planet Earth over time, you'll note that today, present day Earth has about 21% oxygen in the atmosphere. But over time, go back in time, that level decreases. You go back greater than 2.7 billion years ago, there was no oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere for the first 2 billion years of Earth's history. What happened between 2.7 and 1.8 billion years ago, we had the evolution of the first photosynthetic microbes. Algae and cyanobacteria in the ocean, making oxygen, reducing the oxygen, putting it into the air, resulting in the oxygen levels rising to 1 to 5% oxygen. That allowed for ozone to form in the Earth's atmosphere, which protected life on the land, allowing for the evolution of green plants. And because of green plants and the microbes making oxygen, we have the present day oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere around 21%. About half of that oxygen comes from green plants. The other half comes from microbes. Once again, showing you the importance of microbes, first making oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere, and then even today, making about half of the oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere. Once again, showing you the importance of microbes on the planet Earth. Any question about any of that? Oh, there's the first microbes making oxygen, which bubbled out of the water, creating oxygen, which went into the atmosphere. Here's a sewage treatment plant. Humans are responsible for generating the waste, when you flush your toilet and wash stuff down your drains. And humans built this facility, right? So they're responsible for breaking down the waste, right? Anyone disagree? Do humans break down the waste? Anyone disagree? You all should be disagreeing. Humans do not break down the waste. What happens is the microbes growing in this water break down the waste material, recycling it, largely breaking it down like the carbon in the wastewater. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. Breaking it down into CO2 and water. So it's the microbes which are breaking down the waste in the sewage treatment plants. Important for obviously sewage treatment plants and recycling the waste that we generate by flushing our toilets and flushing our stuff down our sinks. All right, I've talked a little bit about microorganisms and microbes. Let me state that a microorganism or a microbe is an organism which is too small to be seen with the unaided eye. They are single-celled, come in many shapes and sizes, involving bacteria, archaea, yeast, molds, protozoans, some algae. If the algae is single-celled, it's a microorganism. If it's like the algae, like the kelp that washes up on the Oregon or Washington coast, that's not a microbe. Microorganisms or microbes also include viruses and prions. These are special because they are not cellular organisms. Viruses and prions do not have cells. In a sense, they are not an organism. So I tend to call them microbes, but your textbook calls them both a microbe and a microorganism. So just note the viruses and prions are special because they are not cellular organisms. Microbes are almost everywhere, and so we can talk about the ubiquity of microorganisms, meaning you find microbes almost everywhere you look. They play beneficial roles in numerous processes on the planet Earth, and they are numerically the most abundant life form on the planet Earth. Any question about any of that? All right, I've talked about cells a bit. Let's talk about what is a cell. A cell is the basic structural and functional unit of all living organisms. Remember, by an organism, we're not talking about a virus or a prion. A cell is a highly organized compartment bounded by a thin, flexible structure that we call the plasma membrane or the cell membrane. Cells always contain three components. First, the plasma membrane. Second, they always have cytoplasm. And third, they always have DNA or their genome. Any question about any of that? Here we're looking at some bacteria cells. All right, and this picture here, see if I can blow this up. Where in this picture would we not find life? And where would we find life? Would you find life in the water?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about on the rocks? Would you find life there?
Yes.
I
Yes.
feel like you would.
Yes. So almost everywhere in this picture you have life. How about in this water here? Would you find life?
Yes.
Ocean water. Yes. How about in the air here? Would you find life in the air?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you find microbes up about 1 mile into the air. All right, in this picture here, we have life obviously there, and in the air, we have life up about 1 mile. what happens is in the air currents can pick up spores and very tiny microbes and actually carry them up about a mile. How about in the soil here? Do we have life? Talking about one
Yeah.
single.
Yes.
Yeah, you can go down into the soil about a mile, assuming it's just regular soil, and you'll find life. Obviously, that may change if there's solid bedrock, in which case it might not go down a mile, but it does go down quite a while. And that's true also on the ocean floor. You can go down about a mile in the ocean floor and still find life. How about on this kitty cat here? You find life?
Yes.
Yes, same here, same as the wall. All right, how about the soil in the desert? Do we have uh, microbes in 1 inch of soil in the desert?
Yes.
Yes. And then right here, this is a, what do you call that? A volcanic vent. There's magma right there. That's why it's red. There's rock around it being ice, and then rock right there. Do you find life right here on the
In the
rock?
rock, yes.
Yes. You find it in the magma.
No?
That's correct. That's the only place you would not find life, essentially on the planet Earth, is wherever you have lava or magma. Those are too hot for life to exist. But around the rock, we do have life there, there, there. So microorganisms are almost everywhere on the planet Earth. Where is everywhere? Environments where microorganisms are found on the land, in the water, in the atmosphere up about a mile, subsurface, under the land and under the ocean floor, also down about a mile. And then you have microorganisms on all plants and animals. You can find microbes, sorry, and I don't know if I mentioned, I use the term microbe and microorganism synonymously, and I use one for the other, whatever. You can find microbe essentially wherever liquid water is present at temperatures between minus 20 degrees C and 120 degrees Celsius. That's minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit and 250 degrees Fahrenheit. We can find life. Now, below a minus 20 degrees Celsius, you can find life, but it'll be frozen. So it'll not be metabolically active. You'd have to thaw it out before a microbe could become metabolically active. So minus 20 degrees, microbes are not metabolically active, they'll be frozen. So they can be alive, but they won't be active. And yes, microbes make antifreeze, and that's why they can survive down to a minus 20 degrees Celsius. And then we have some microbes that can survive a little beyond. I think the highest we've recorded is a microbe which can survive at 126 degrees Celsius. I could be out of date because that number is, gosh, years old, more than years old. It's probably decades old. Any question about any of that? So microbes are the most numerically abundant life form on the planet. And I think I'm going to stop here. And ask if there's any questions. All right, if there are no questions, I'll see you in the lab at 6:30. All right, bye.